Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Garibaldi Red, a Nottingham Forest podcast brought to you by Nottinghamshire Live. I'm Max Sage, your host, and for one last time on the podcast, which we'll get on to very shortly, but a farewell episode brings us a farewell defeat to Bournemouth, the annual defeat to Bournemouth every single season away at the Vitality or Dean Court, as it was known as before. We will reflect on the performance, what next for Forest under Sean Dyche, the positives maybe to take from today, and of course the negatives and everything else. And then, of course, we will look back on some brilliant memories on the podcast. But we'll leave that till the end. We'll still do the usual stuff because there'll be plenty of people listening to this back on their Monday morning, perhaps on the way to work, and they want to know about the game and don't want to hear what we've all got to say about the podcast for the last few years. But we will do little bits of that towards the end. And of course, we are live on YouTube, Nottingham Forest News, and Facebook as well, Garibaldi Red, joined by, as you can see, a jam-packed panel from all over the world. Bournemouth, the UK, Stoke-on-Trent, where Sam, you're in Brazil, and Mark, you're in your usual hometown. So a big panel. Dave, we'll start with you because you've been and you're currently still in Bournemouth. We all feel sorry for you, mate. Tell us why you're there and how today was.
Well, the last 2 or 3 days have been fantastic because I've caught up with a lot of really wonderful old friends and it's been brilliant. Today, though, the football was deflating, Max, to be honest. It is the roller coaster of Forest. Thursday night was so good. Thursday night was hard work, team spirit, a great atmosphere around the City ground. Today was the complete opposite. And Bournemouth won 2-0. But I think if Bournemouth, especially second half, had extended themselves further, the damage could have been far greater. And, if we're looking for positives, there aren't many. Elliot, I think. But Elliot has been our perennial positive for most of this season. He's becoming a wonderful footballer, not just at club level, but at international level. But beyond that, I think it's a day to quickly forget, draw a line under, and endeavour as best as we can to improve, which is going to be difficult because the fixtures coming up remain as difficult as ever. So hopefully a day that we can put into the rear view mirror and move on from as quickly as we can, Max.
What is it with Bournemouth, honestly, Dave? I can remember interviewing you on some random road we parked at when Forest, we got hard done by that night when we should have gone. Got on the automatic race. I'm not a fan of Bournemouth. Not a fan.
I've got a theory, Max.
Yeah,
I've got a theory, Max. Actually, and I've looked at certain players who played for Bournemouth, quite recently, and then watched them go to another club. So Dominic Solanke at Tottenham disappeared. Milos Kerkez, a different man at Liverpool. And I think, and I've said this to Bournemouth supporters in the last 2 or 3 days, and some of them agreed with me. I think it's easier to play for AFC Bournemouth in the Premier League than it is to play for any of the other 19. I think they're in bonus territory every single minute that they're in the Premier League. The expectation is wildly different from everybody else. And I think to put on that red and black shirt to Bournemouth isn't as heavy a weight as it is to put on any of the others. So that's the only theory I can come up with as to why we can't beat them. I'm at a loss to know why, Max, to be honest.
Yeah. Also joined, we'll go to Sam next because I feel for him because he seems
Brazil
in a hotel room live from Brazil. Sam, your day's probably been better than Dave's down in sunny Bournemouth because you've been surfing. So Dave might have been surfing in Bournemouth, but it might have been bloody cold. Sam, how are you, mate? How is South America? And you've not watched the game today. Have you spoke to many fans out there? What's it been like the last few days as a Forest fan, the other side of the world? Mark's used to it, but maybe you're not.
Yeah, I was going to say I think I'm a bit happier than everyone else is because I've not had to suffer through that game. So yeah, it's been good. I'm fantastic. Funnily enough, the first football shirt that I saw that was not a Brazilian shirt, was a Forest shirt in Salvador in Brazil, which is a really rogue thing because it's North Brazil. Hardly anyone speaks English. And I was walking down the street and I saw a guy wearing it looked like a match-worn Danilo shirt. So whether there was some connection there, I don't know. I went over and said hello to him. He had no idea what I was saying to him. But he was wearing a Forest shirt with number 28 on the back, and that was genuinely the first football shirt other than a Brazilian shirt that I'd seen in Brazil. So
please tell me you sang him the Dinner song.
He had no idea what was going on, so I don't know whether it was like maybe it's someone that he knew or got in the shirt. I don't know, but yeah, pretty cool.
What shirt was it? Was it like what season was it?
It was. I think it was the Macron one when I think it was the one when we first season we came up.
Yeah,
I think, or was it the season before? I can't remember. It looked like it was like a pre-season game or something. Oh yeah, that one. Probably that one. It had
Sarah, that looks so odd. What you're doing there looks so odd. I know you were just trying to show the shirt, but this is not a pay-per-view channel, Sarah.
No wonder the podcast is finishing.
I know.
It had number 28 on the back and no name, so maybe it was a player worn one. I don't know where he's got it from. Anyway, it was cool. And I'm wearing a Corinthians shirt for Murillo, representing Murillo out in southern Brazil right now. So yeah,
top man, good stuff. Also joined, of course, by Steve Bennett. Steve, I'm guessing you watched the game today. What do you make to it? I mean, we've got a lot of comments coming in, and I've kind of doom scrolled Twitter and social media, which is always a mistake after a Forest result, but there is that negativity there, and football soon quickly changes. It changed in a couple of days, and everyone was ecstatic, about Sean Dyche, and people maybe still are, and I don't think there's been many criticism towards him, but everyone was ecstatic about the club and everything that unfolded on Thursday night. A brilliant result against Porto, and then it's just typical Forest fashion for just a few days later it all to be kind of negative, and we'd be talking about Forest losing to Bournemouth 2-0. We're 12 points off a newly promoted side in Sunderland. We're 6 points off Leeds, and we're 5 points off Burnley. So, is it a worrying time? And we find ourselves in the relegation zone.
Blimey, there's a lot of questions there. I think there's a worry in the fact that we're in the bottom three and other teams are doing well.
Yeah.
From my perspective, from my point of view, I think you've got to put this afternoon's game into perspective. Bournemouth are second in the Premier League and absolutely on a run, playing really well, got a settled side. Everybody knows what they're doing. We're in third manager territory, and Thursday night was really good. I was there. It was fantastic. I think we were always going to win on Thursday. Okay, there were some helpful VAR decisions, but we're always going to win. Today was a really, really, really hard fixture.
True.
Personally, I think it was the right decision to play the same team because they could carry on, the way they were playing from Thursday. I thought Savona played well at right back.
True.
I don't think anyone had, we're just watching it on telly, I don't think anyone had a real stinker of a game. I think Sells was fouled for the first one. And there was a mistake for the second one where Louise and Anderson ran into each other going for the same ball, which then left the defence completely exposed and allowed the player to run on and score. And I've seen some comments. I don't think Sells was at fault for the second game. So I'm not as pessimistic as perhaps lots of people will be, but then I'm always an optimist. And it's just one of those things for me. We've got, another 29 games to go. And in Sean Dyche, I trust.
I was literally just going to ask you about, I suppose ask everyone about Sean Dyche. And I kind of listened to his interview with Colin after full time, and he said the players were back on the pitch tomorrow. There's lots to do, and he kind of didn't really spare them of any possible criticism, because he was very much heavy on his criticism towards the players, but also did mention that it had been a difficult week. And as you've said, Steve, you're on third manager territory. We've played on Thursday night. I still think the Europa League's almost too much of a priority, and I even think that's probably in the mind of some staff in the back of the Forest at the club in terms of maybe it's too much of a priority. I still think they've got to massively focus on the league, and they've got to start picking up results very soon. Mark, what did you make to it?
Well, we have that chant at the City Ground, don't we? Forest are magic on and off the pitch. I think Bournemouth might be magic on and off the pitch, and I mean literally I think they may have some alchemy and spellcasting going on behind the scenes, because last season, I can't remember which game it was, but I remember that game when Sky Sports were making a big noise about half of Bournemouth squad sat up in the executive box watching the game because they were all injured, and yet somehow Bournemouth was still putting out a team that were winning. In the off season here, we've had Bournemouth lose their entire defence essentially, and yet somehow still be second in the league. There's some black magic going on down on the South Coast, I think. And fair play to them. I mean, I agree with everything that's been said so far. A couple of things I would pick up on. Elliot Anderson obviously has been a fantastic player this season, both for club and country. I don't think too far behind him is Nico Williams. Maybe not so much for country, given his performance against England. But certainly for Forest, he's one of the few players, I think, in the team who's doing his primary role really, really well, and then some. So he's no doubt he's been our best fullback this season, arguably our best defender this season, and he's also trying to get up the field and contribute offensively as well. So that really occurred to me today, and it wasn't just today's performance, but it kind of drove it home for me. The other thing I'd say, Max, is I agree that we should have kept the same team that we had out on Thursday. Don't think changes needed to be made. I don't really understand, though, why our approach in play changed. What I mean by that is it's so maddening to watch Forest get battered for 20 minutes and try and batten down the hatches, only to get scored on and go, oh, I guess we'll make a game of it now then, and come out at Bournemouth and then suddenly look a completely different team. I don't understand that at all. It's not okay. I mean, I get going away from home. Generally speaking, you're going to sit in and try and catch the other team on the counter. But it was night and day pre and post that first goal, which suggests to me we're able to go toe-to-toe with Bournemouth. Maybe not for the full 90 minutes, but it was just a little bit galling. I think on the balance of the match, Bournemouth deserved the victory. I agree with everything that's been said about what the lead up to both goals. If you saw the Tottenham-Everton game, you saw Vicario get fouled, and evidently that was being looked at by VAR as a very strong candidate for the goalkeeper being impeded and the goal being called off. It ultimately was for offside anyway, but so little was said about the Sal situation, and I think in that first goal he definitely was impeded. But more than that, again, it just frustrates me when Forest play one way until a goal goes in and then suddenly decide, oh, we better show up now then.
Yeah,
agree with that.
Sarah, what do you think that is in a way? Just listening to Mark's point about almost, I think we talked about it last season quite a bit on the podcast, but more actually the season where Forest were in this kind of relegation fight and stayed up, both under Steve Cooper and of course then the second half of the season under Nuno. And it was almost this mentality of the players switching off and then conceding and then almost being fired up because they've gone a goal behind. Why do Forest almost sometimes seem, and I suppose it's a really difficult question for you to answer, but why do Forest sometimes seem so slow up until a goal's scored to wake them up? Because I do agree with Mark. I thought that Forest looked good after Bournemouth scored the first. And, there were chances. You look at the Morgan Gibbs-White chance, but I don't know. I just thought today was one of those days.
Nico Williams shot.
Yeah.
I thought they looked better. I didn't think they looked good, but it felt to me that Bournemouth were keeping us at arm's length, really. I know that the Morgan Gibbs-White shot could have gone in quite easily in that, but I know we had more of the ball and we looked a bit more dangerous, but it felt like they were just done a job on us today and they were quite happy with 2-0. And I think if we'd have scored one, they'd have perhaps just upped the game a bit and scored another. I mean, for me, I think the issue is that it's the most important season we've ever had and we've not been ready for it. It's quite clear pre-season was pretty dismal and what's been going on in the backgrounds, and we're just not ready for this Thursday, Sunday games, are we? I mean, but I'm not too disheartened today because I think, like you say, we look better second half, and he's got to do some work on the training ground. We could argue that we're no better off than with Ange, but I truly believe that Dyche will sort us out defensively and make us more solid, and he will expect a real good work rate. But they've been, they're on the third manager, in is it 6 weeks or something ridiculous? So, yeah, I don't know about today, but to me, when I was watching that game, I wasn't on the edge of my seat. I don't know about you guys.
No. Yeah, it was. Yeah, Steve, did you want to come in there?
I think there's an elephant in the room that we've not talked about yet, and that's Ange Postecoglou, who for me absolutely destroyed everything about our club in the space of 8 games. And we've talked about this on this podcast many times. These footballers are not machines; they're people. And it's quite clear from all the interviews that they won't say it. I will. They absolutely hated it under Ange. So we've had a situation where we go, if you go back to that very, very first game of the season against Brentford, it was absolutely magical, that first half. And then the next 2 games weren't so good. And then Nuno came out with the stuff that he came out with because of all the falling out behind the scenes between him and Edu. That led to him get to the sack. And then we had this 39-day period of Ange being our head coach. I won't even say being in control, where, as far as I understand from comments that are coming out, everybody at the club realised it was a complete disaster. It was a complete error.
But the fans realised it before he was appointed.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's what I tried to say the other night. Is like, I couldn't understand why Tottenham went for him. So why would we go for him?
But
not that we're better than Tottenham. I just didn't see
it. To bring him in after Nuno is I mean,
crazy.
People talk about chalk and cheese. It's not even chalk and cheese. It's much stronger than that. So you've got a manager in charge trying to change the players in terms of how they play and everything they're good at. Thursday was always going to be, I think, was going to be a one-off because of the emotions of it, because they felt free, as Morgan Gibbs-White said, they felt they could breathe. But imagine what's going on in their minds in terms of, hang on, do we do this? Do we do that? Yes, we've got to get back to that, but it was a little bit different under Nuno because we were preparing for this season. There's no clarity around what the players should do or how they should do it. And for me, it'll take a few games to get over the Ange effect. Sean Dyche is very, very good at putting a team together that is defensively strong. And he's got the most talented squad in front of him now that he's ever had. So let's add to that defensive strength the attacking options that we've got, the players that we've got that I would suggest are all a higher level than he's had before. And it would be great. I know it won't happen, Max. It'd be great to have another final Garibaldi Reds podcast in a few weeks' time and go, let's see how he's doing for a few games. But I don't think we can ignore, from my mind, the effect of Ange Postecoglou.
But Steve, Dyche today dropped the ball. I mean, we're desperate for a goal, and he's got 2 fantastic attacking wingers on the bench there in Stone and Wone. He doesn't give either of them any minutes. I don't understand that. I can't make sense of it.
He didn't bring himself on either in defence.
You think he would have done? He didn't get any minutes, did he? In a Forest shirt as a player, you think he'd be like, right, player manager, here we go. Quick point, though, that it's kind of occurred to me in the last few days, right? There's been a lot of talk with the Nuno situation and him being unhappy with Edu and the change in the relationship with Marinakis and maybe not having control of the signings. Something occurred to me, though, in the last couple of days. I'd love to get you guys' take on it, because I want to completely derail the podcast. It's Max's last one. Let's not break with tradition now. We noticed Nuno making a change to the way Forest approached the game at the beginning of this season, right? Last year, very much absorbed the pressure, counter-attack, particularly using the pace of Elanga, but also Callum Hudson-Odoi to a certain extent as well. And at the beginning of the season, we saw a shift, right? More possession-based, more of a mid-block, definitely getting higher up the field. And it suddenly occurred to me in the last couple of days, because when he went and Ange was brought in, it felt like, or at least all the narrative in the media was around, hey, the owner's bringing in a guy who's trying to do more of that, right? More of what Forest were trying to do. And it kind of occurred to me, who do you think instigated that shift in the way we play? Do you think it was the owner saying to Nuno in the offseason, look, we did it that way last year. We're going into Europe now. I want us to be more expansive. I want us to be more cavalier. We're not doing that football again. You need to break out. And Nuno's struggling with that because we haven't seen a lot of that from Nuno in his managerial career. Or do you think it was Nuno giving it a go, which suddenly sparked to Marinakis? Oh, you know what? I fancy doing it that way, which then influenced the hire of Ange as opposed to going for a Dyche at the time or somebody else more in the traditional Nuno mold.
I think it's probably the case of that. At the end of last season, we had that real bad spell where I think we kind of got found out. We had this real kind of characteristic and way of playing, didn't we? And then teams kind of found out, and we struggled when teams had a plan B against us. And I think there was probably some conversations that were had over summer about changing the way we play. And I reckon that's probably the root cause of what caused all those issues with the Nuno, to be honest. But yeah, I don't know. It's a strange one. I think, like Steve said, the to go from Nuno and playing that way of football to then bring someone in like Ange who wants to play that expansive football, it is so far apart. Someone that was so based around defence, like to go from Nuno to Dyche maybe makes more sense because it's more stylistic. There's a lot more similarities in the way the managerial style, but something's going to have to. If we've decided now that we're going to go down this route of having Dyche in, I think we're going to have to probably accept that we're going to be the team that is a solid at the back, probably concedes less possession, has less possession on the ball, and is that counter-attacking team that kind of we did last season. Look, Dyche is probably going to come in and have his own ideas. This is a completely different challenge for him, isn't it? He's never had a team like this. He's never had an owner like this that will kind of bend and spend money like Marinakis will. So whether we see a completely different side of Dyche compared to what we've seen at the likes of Everton and Burnley, who knows? But I think it's going to be it's a kind of a Marinakis has tried to do two steps in one go, getting someone like Ange in, and I think he's had to take a big step back with getting Sean Dyche back in to try and steady the ship.
I think it's too simplistic to think that human being over there is embodied by that style or that method of play, and that this human being over here is embodied by that style of play. My view is we have 19 different oppositions that all present their own challenges. We should be having somebody as our coach who takes each opposition on its own merits and works out a strategy to beat them. I heard Matt Ford on with Matt Davis this week, and he talked about the slightly wearying fetishization of managers and styles of play. So Bournemouth are going to present you with a set of problems. Manchester United will present you with a changed set of problems next week. Leeds United will come with stuff. Sturm Graz will come with stuff. And you have to take each and every one. And it's almost like, Nuno plays this way and that's the way we stick to playing. Well, if that's the way you stick to playing, and that's what we did do last year, we had the clearest identity last year of any team in that division because we did something different to the other 19. It was kind of revolutionary football without really wanting the ball. The problem, as Sam has just rightly said, is by the time we got to the end of the season, that identity was so fixed in the public imagination that was the starting point for every team that played against us. So we had to find a different way. We had to adapt. And I think, it's all well and good having this style of play and then sort of trying to stick to it. But the style of play that you've got might work, say, against one opposition, but not against another. And I think we have to start taking each opposition on its merits. Because Bournemouth playing one way, Manchester United are going to play in a different way. And I just don't think at the moment, in the way we go about matches, we're adaptable enough. I think Nuno realised that we had to do something different because, as Sam says, people were getting wise to us. And that drop off at the end of last season, even Leicester City worked us out and should have beaten us, I think, that day we got into Europe, So even teams like that were working us out. But the way I look at it is...
especially off the back of Stanley Elanga, Dave.
Yeah. And actually, Mark, that's a great point because to me, when Anthony Elanga was sold to Newcastle United, and I've got a great mate, who said to me, "What about Elanga?" And I said to my friend Ross, who's a Newcastle supporter, I said, he more than any other person defined the way Nottingham Forest played last year with such success. Because if you've got a guy who's essentially an Olympic 100-meter sprinter in your team, you can cause havoc with that kind of pace. We do not have that kind of pace anymore. Dan Undoy isn't as quick as he is. Callum isn't as quick as he is. Amari isn't as quick as he is. Dylan isn't as quick as he is. So we've got to come up with something different. But at the same time, we start coming up with something different. Teams are still going to be watching what we're doing. To Steve's point, I absolutely sympathise with our lads, who I think are a wonderful bunch of young lads, to be honest. I've got so much admiration for our lads, but I think they've been pulled hither and thither these last 2 or 3 months, and that can never be good for anybody. And today, the two teams were stark in contrast. One, stable and sophisticated. The other one, kind of scratching around looking for which way do we go now. And so really today was
which is why maybe today, Dave, is just a one-off. And I kind of hate to
maybe, Max. I hope so.
Yeah, and I kind of hate to be that person to say it. And believe me, I've been negative at times, and I'm happy to almost give Forest criticism where needed. But I do kind of think now Steve said it about the Ange after effects. They've had a difficult game on Thursday. They are humans. And also, it's blooming Bournemouth. I know everyone will laugh at that and go, oh, bogey teams mean nothing. But I still think it means something. Forest always seem to struggle to play against teams like Bournemouth, and maybe not in the Championship as such, but you'd throw a Southampton in there, a Burnley in there. Teams that I can't really describe. I don't want to be controversial to them, but, those teams that have...
We need to find the secret of that black magic Mark talked about, because Bournemouth.
Yeah. Don't get me started on Yeovil. Very, very quick question for everybody. I'd love to get the take for something that Sarah said in regards to Forest fans being wise to Ange not being the right fit before he even stepped over the threshold. I think if you polled Forest fans before Ange arrived, you'd had single-digit percentages of those who were excited about that hire, right?
Yeah.
So in the media, the narrative subsequently has been Marinakis' head case. You got rid of Nuno, and then 39 days later, he fires Ange. Actually, is there a case for suggesting that Marinakis deserves a little credit? Now, okay, the hire was bad, but within 39 days, you realised it doesn't matter what we do here. This is not
a fit. Quicker, Mark.
This is not going to pan out. I mean,
he should have read the room. Should have read the room at the start and never.
Should never have took him on. He should never have hired him. But that's fair enough, isn't it?
But having taken him on, I agree with Mark. I think that the fact that he got rid of him, Marinakis does deserve credit because he got rid of him quickly. If there's any problem with that, he should have
gone to go in international break.
He should have gone 2 weeks earlier at the start of the international break. Not that the international break nowadays gives a head coach at Forest the opportunity to play with the team, because you've got 11, 12, 13 players on international duty. Yeah. So you're almost hampered. Yeah. This week coming is the first time for 5 or 6 weeks that any head coach would have had the opportunity to work with the squad of players for a whole week.
Yeah, good point. Sarah, I was going to ask you about almost Forest having this bumper squad this season on paper, right? Amari Hutchinson, James McAtee, Douglas Luiz, Calamendo was tearing it up. Was it in France? Remind me if I've had a mental block there, but in France. Igor Jesus was excellent in South America. And you could even look at players last season, Morgan Gibbs-White, Chris Wood on fine form, but it just doesn't. It just and I mean this in the way of the new signings, and maybe Sean Dyche didn't want to change the side today, and Hutchinson obviously was on the bench and came on and did okay. But I wonder whether, why James McAtee hasn't got to look in from 3 managers now, really. And yeah, you could go, well, the 3 managers that have not had great time, but Nuno had pre-season with them and saw the arrival of McAtee. Maybe it was politics of not wanting to play him due to this whole fallout with Edu. You've had Andrews an attacking manager and James McAtee's an attacking player. And now you've had Sean Dyche, albeit for 2 games. I just wonder, and I suppose this adds into the question of whether Forest should drop Morgan Gibbs-White, because I've seen a lot of criticism towards him. I think the problem with Morgan is he overcomplicates the game. He sometimes needs to just do the basics. And I think Sean Dyche will get him to that stage. But I just wonder whether he could do with a rest and someone like James McAtee comes in, and whether some of the new signings should be starting more. I don't know what you think.
It's a difficult one, isn't it? Because, I'm looking at it through Sean Dyche's eyes now, not Ange or Nuno's. But to me, it feels like we've not had a pre-season. Nuno, the pre-season was terrible. I thought something was off. And then we go and beat Brentford. And then he comes out with those comments. So we've had 1 game where we looked okay. And then I think each one now is trying to have a pre-season, so they kind of catch up. But with McAtee, I don't know. He wasn't on the bench even, was he, today? And I know Ange's left him out. The small cameos he's had, he looks okay. But
he was on the Champions League final bench for City just a few years ago.
I know, and I don't. But maybe we just need to probably just take a step back, and we can't expect everything today. And that's how I'm seeing it, is like, whatever's happened today, he's gone safe with today. He's tried to like replicate Thursday. You know, they did look leggy. They didn't look like they got going till second half, but that was probably because of everything. It's not just the game, is it? It's all the emotions they've probably had this week as well. And I don't know, he mentioned something in his post-match interview as well, that they weren't quite fit enough. I know a lot of them come out with that in a roundabout way. So that was a bit worrying, but I can't imagine they're not fit. They all look fit to me, but maybe they're not able to do what he wants them to do at the moment. I've got no answer, I'm afraid, over McAtee at all, but maybe he's not fit. He's injured, and maybe we'll see him in one of the other games. I mean, I was glad that Hutchinson got a run out today, because he's not in. Right. Yeah, and he's not in the, and to say that he's not played for, God, I haven't seen him for it feels like about 3 or 4 weeks. So, and he can't play in the Europa League, so it kind of makes sense, doesn't it, to at least have him on the bench in the Premier League. But equally, I'm with you. I think we need to concentrate on the Premier League with our strongest team, and I would imagine Sean Dyche, he's got an idea, because I'm sure he's been watching us, but he perhaps doesn't quite know how that is at the moment until he does get some time on the training ground with them. It sounds like excuses, I know, but I don't. I wouldn't personally drop Morgan Gibbs-White at the moment, and that's probably goes against a lot of what other fans think. He's not had some great games, but I didn't think Anderson was as good today as what he has been. But I'm not surprised. He hasn't had a rest, has he? He's played every minute, I think, of every game. So, yeah, I don't know. Who knows? That's why we're all here, to see what's going to happen, aren't we? It's a roller coaster ride, and we're just going to enjoy it, aren't we? Yeah. And I'm glad it's not me making those decisions.
And Sarah, you'll be glad that you don't have to do many more podcasts after this. I'm sure you'll be called up.
I'm not sure about that.
Give it another 39 days, Sarah. It might be you making the decisions. You might be the next Forest head coach.
Yeah.
I certainly hope
the next Garibaldi Red host. You never know.
I don't know, but today after that game, I actually did think, God, if we don't get a win soon, we are going to go down. Because
Steve, so I'll give this question to maybe Steve and Sam. I guess Sam watching from afar, but obviously Steve watching a bit more closely recently. Do you think Forest are going to be in a relegation battle, Steve, come the end of the season? And I say that because of the quality of the other teams that have got promoted. This season reminds me, in fact, the newly promoted sides are better than, in my opinion, when Forest, Fulham and Bournemouth came up that season. Well, people go, well, they all stayed up. Forest scraped survival. Bournemouth kind of did, but had a bit more of a comfortable finish. Fulham were miles ahead. There always seems to be one that in the bunch that goes miles ahead. But I think the quality of Leeds, I think the quality, I think Burnley are not a bad side. I think they'll be probably the one to possibly go down out of all three. Sunderland, on the other hand, are just, I think Sunderland need to be studied, and maybe they'll have their full, when all the players go off to AFCON and it's January and Christmas, and they'll hit a bad run eventually. But Forest are 12 points behind Sunderland currently. Steve, do you think Forest will be in some sort of relegation troubles because of the quality of the other teams and maybe how open it's going to be down there?
So, as it stands today, the table tells us that we're in a relegation battle.
True.
But I think our season starts effectively tomorrow. I think you've got to give Sean Dyche a few games. I think that the squad that we've got is the most talented squad of individuals that we've had, I'd suggest possibly ever. And I've been watching this flipping club for nearly 50 years. But a squad of individuals doesn't make a team. Let's look at Liverpool, who won the league last year and have now brought in 5 or 6 players, all allegedly superstars, but they've not blended them into a team, and they're going through a really difficult spell. So the job for Sean Dyche is even harder, because he's got to get to know the players and they've got to get to know him. He's got to know how they interact. And yes, he'll have seen a few games and seen lots of videos, but he's got to actually spend time with them and know how they play off each other and build all those connections on the pitch. And that takes time. We've talked about this on the podcast a million and one times. It takes time. So yes, today we're in a relegation battle. I don't think we'll be in a relegation battle by, say, January.
Sorry, Steve, I'm just laughing at Dave Asprey. Dave Asprey just putting his jumper on. It seemed like some sort of fashion show there, Dave. I thought
there's no heating in Bournemouth, is there?
No, I'm behind enemy lines here, and it's I think it's there's paleontology going on because it's quite cold here. I was listening intently to every one of Steve's words, despite putting my jumper on. It kind of helped me concentrate. The only thing I would say about today and this weekend, if you like, all the results that we would have wanted have gone the other way, right? And this idea of the 3 that have come up are looking really, really good. I do believe at some point they'll have their bad runs, and the teams that are having a bad run at the moment will have good runs. But I looked at the table afterwards, and we've got to be really, really careful we don't get cut off. We don't get sort of left behind. Yeah, ideally, a draw between Wolves and Burnley would have kept Burnley close to us. Fulham are the nearest now. And actually, they played quite well in patches at Newcastle yesterday. So the only thing I would say is I keep being told that this is a talented squad of people, right? And the theory suggests that it is. But it'd be nice to see some of that sort of brought, made flesh and brought into reality, and say, come on now, lads. You're talented. Could you please start using some of that talent? And that would help. That would then help Dyche to sift through this morass of things he's got to get through. So I think, what I'm trying to say is that, when Ange was getting all the stuff in the neck, and people seem to rather cruelly want to have a scapegoat, a named individual that they can fire the darts at. We as Nottingham Forest, the whole thing has to stand or fall together. It's all of us, so we need to, I'm all for taking a step back, but in the time we're taking a step back, the others are taking 2 or 3 forward. And the moment the league, the 17 are rushing away from Nottingham Forest, Wolverhampton Wanderers and West Ham United. You know what I mean? And we've got to be very careful we don't get jettisoned. So the only thing I would say about Dyche I've been thinking about is, they took 10 points off him a couple of seasons ago, and he got them back within 3 weeks. So Dyche's got form for using this kind of stuff. I think he's a brilliant communicator. His first interview when he came in last week, I thought was absolutely fantastic. Spoke beautifully, articulate, and in a way that he can engage with people. So I'm hoping he brings that personality to bear. But we've got to get moving pretty quickly, because otherwise, the mountain is going to get steeper and the slope is going to get slippier if we're not careful, really.
Yeah. He's a brilliant communicator, unless you're a Brazilian player, evidently, Dave, because they don't understand a word he's saying, and vice versa. So, so Dave, what is your take on Dyche as a tactician? Because you said, coaches, they should look at the 19 players, 19 teams, individually, create a plan for each. Today his subs were questionable.
Yeah.
You got Calimendo on the bench, who we haven't seen much of, and when we have, he's looked good. He brought Hutchinson on, who did look good again today, and that was
sharp.
Sharp,
Mark. Yeah.
But I'm wondering, do you have faith in Sean Dyche and the team there? Because we didn't look balanced in midfield, for instance. We were being overrun.
No,
I don't think we addressed that today, and we had players on the bench to do it.
I thought we were like second best in almost every position. Like Steve says, Bournemouth are an excellent team. I think the fact with Bournemouth, what we overlook is they're a really good team, but we kind of look at their history or their lack thereof and the size of their ground and all that. We make an assumption about them. With regards to Dyche, I think he's a brilliant manager. I think the lads will like him and they will play for him. I saw the training session earlier in the week that was video. Shoulders were bouncing up and down because people were laughing. That's a good start, I think. Tactically, he still has to sort of demonstrate to me that he's on it. I think of Ange, to me, Ange was just chaos. The Midtjylland game was the most chaotic football match that I've seen for years, right? Well, not from Midtjylland, but from us it was. Nuno had a way of doing it, that worked for a while. And I think Nuno was then struggling with a plan B. But Daichi's got Stoney and Woney to help him, Tony Loughran and Billy Mercer. It is kind of management and coaching by committee at the moment. The five of them have got to get a brains trust, and they've got to work out, for next week, how they're going to stop Cooney, how they're going to stop Mbeumo, and then how are they going to impose Forest onto Manchester United. So I can't answer your question, Mark. In Daichi's defence, it is so early into his tenure.
Yeah, time will tell.
It will. I just think I looked at this again. I come back to the contrast, the stability of Bournemouth. It all looked like, here we are again. We just go through what we've done time and time again. And Forest are sort of still, they don't at the moment know who they are and where they're going. So
bingo.
I guess time is the only one that can deal with that for us, But I am worried.
All right. Well, look, let's leave the football behind because we've done 41 minutes.
I was going to say, Max, can we move on? This is so bloody depressing.
Well,
he's only been in charge for one league game. For God's sake.
I think there's a wider context.
Just asking questions, not being critical, just asking questions, speculating.
No, I've been on lots of podcasts with Dave, and I've never heard him as fed up as this.
I think it's because he's Bournemouth.
Like I say, mate, it's the anniversary of my dad's passing, and that's been on my mind. And I'm sorry for that. And then I went to the match, and I was full of hope. In fact, the people who I'm stopping with, they saw me from where they were sitting in the Ted McDougal. They saw me bouncing up and down and running up and down the steps like a 16-year-old rather than a 61-year-old. But it was just, I'm really sorry. It was just the most deflating. It's the most deflating since Midtjylland. And I think the whole context is this. Bournemouth was singing at us. It's happening again. It's happening again. Nottingham Forest. It's happening again. And we why can't we just? With so much turbulence and volatility around our club, and I don't. In many ways, I don't blame Daichi for that. I don't blame Ange for that. I don't blame Nuno for that. But it'd be nice to kind of get into a nice rhythm and a nice flow and let it take care of itself. You know what I mean? The good thing is it's October. It's not April.
I feel bad for Sam. The minute he's got a T-shirt idea lined up, manager gets sacked.
It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare.
What do you do with the old T-shirts, Sam? Do you just use them around the house? I don't know.
No, I do it. Fortunately, I've thought about this. I do it all print on demand, so it's
right.
There's a business model in place for this sort of stuff. Clever. That's the kind of businessman that the world needs. Can
I just say just one thing? Sorry, and then I'll let you move on. If this game had come after 3 or 4 games, or in the middle of some games, we wouldn't have been. We'd have kind of expected it because they're second, and they're a good team and all the rest of it. But it's because it's his first game. And I think we probably were all hopeful that we might see a bit more, but we just need to put it to bed, give him some time, and let's see where we go. And probably in 10 games, because we're probably going to lose to Man U, aren't we?
No, we'll beat them 7-0.
Brilliant. That's the other thing.
Because I was asked. We lost 5-0 in January, right? Yeah. And that was truly abysmal. And I remember being interviewed by some Bournemouth people on their channel afterwards. And they said, how do you feel about it? And I said, well, on behalf of everybody in Nottingham Forest, well played Bournemouth. He was superb, not a problem, no complaints. And they said, what about moving forward? I said, well, and this was at the time, I said, well, if you lose to Liverpool next week and we beat Brighton and Hove Albion somehow at the City Ground, well, then this 5-0 defeat will be meaningless. Lo and behold, they lost to Liverpool. We beat Brighton, I think, 7.
Yeah.
So, and the thing is,
again.
And football and life are such, twisty paths. You just don't know, do you really? So
let's not get too down.
Yes, let's not get too down. Right, we'll leave the football behind because I mean, we can talk about the football as much as possible, but we're certainly all not going to be able to talk about it. Well, maybe ever, again on the Garibaldi Red podcast. For those that didn't know, and might be tuning in on Facebook or YouTube and thinking it's just a usual episode. I mean, I guess it kind of isn't. This is my last one. It's for again, context needed. For those that don't know, the podcast is owned by an external company. It's owned by Reach PLC, who own the likes of the local papers, so the Nottingham Post. So this podcast is run on behalf of them. So they may get somebody else in the next few weeks or months, but I certainly won't be here. That's because I've got a new job. Many of you know, I do bits and pieces in the media, and I've got a new venture, which is very exciting, which is at Global. So it's commercial station. So they look after Hearts, Capital, all of that. So I'll be popping up there and doing a bit of general stuff. So it won't be all sport. I'll still be covering Forest a little bit elsewhere. I can't go into detail too much on here about that, but I'll still be popping up doing Forest bits. And of course, trying to talk about us as much as possible. But in terms of the podcast moving forward, it won't be me, sadly. And I sadly think that it probably won't be the usual lineup. So it's been a blast. I mean, we've done it for, about just over a year now. We took over, of course, from Matt and the team, who did a great job, but it wasn't an easy challenge. They went and did their own thing, which has gone on to do great things. But it certainly wasn't an easy challenge taking over that, considering some of the politics around it and people not knowing the full circumstances, shall we say? But we gave it a good go. I'd like to think, and we certainly covered Forest as best as we could. Before we play a bit of a montage and a message that Mark's organised from somebody, I thought we'd go round and ask everyone what their favourite memories of the Garibaldi Red podcast. It's like at school whenever we go, when you go around and say one fun fact about yourself. So yeah, this is going to be good. Who do we start with? Do you know what? We'll go to South America first. Sam, I put you on the spot, mate. Although you've had 47 minutes of us being negative to think about it. What's your favourite Garibaldi Red moment? And don't say tonight.
Definitely wasn't tonight. No, it was. I've loved every episode I've been on. I think one of the early ones I came on with Guy Moussi and yourself, and that was really good to experience that. And then I'd say I also really enjoyed, obviously, while you were off on international break, the episode that Sarah and I did, which was I was absolutely bricking it for, but we got through it with Sarah in the end. So yeah. Bundled away through that episode, which was it was a good experience. So yeah, thanks for everything.
Oh no, top man, and thank you. No, thanks for coming on. It's been great, and yeah, I'm certainly sure we will cross paths in the future. And Tricky T-shirts is Sam's t-shirt business, which we always talk about. So for anyone listening or watching, I'll get our podcast producer Dan to put a link in the description after we've uploaded this. When it's finished being live. So anyone that wants to go and get a t-shirt, then you can do. And hopefully Sam's printing some more positive t-shirts in the next couple of weeks.
Elliot Anderson t-shirt coming very soon. So stay tuned.
Oh, nice. We look forward to that. Steve, what is your favourite memory, mate?
I think there's a couple of things. If I can, Max, I think the first thing is actually, and this is going to sound a bit strange, but the first thing is watching your development over the years from that somewhat young, inexperienced, raw, seemed like about 4-year-old when we first met. Yeah, squeaky. And then coming on and doing this, and then going on, no doubt, to great things. And as I've said to you privately, and I'll say it publicly, when you are hosting Match of the Day, don't forget us. You know, we'll all be keen to have a studio tour. And then the other highlight, of course, has to be just trying to get a word in edgeways with Dave.
I love you and I want your babies, Mr. Bennett.
And trying to get trying to add to the optimism and the balance of everything. But it's been an honour. Just really, really enjoyed it. Some of the conversations I know that you, Dave, and I have had on some of the podcasts about players being human, about culture, about teamwork, have probably taken this podcast in a little bit different direction from just, oh, it's all crap, or it's all great, or we're going to win the league, or we're going to get relegated, and that sort of stuff. So thank you.
And thank you, mate. I mean, Matchday with Max was, I guess what kick-started the Forest journey. Well, it did. I mean, it was called Young Reds TV before it was changed to Matchday Max. So I thought, well, in fact, my dad came up with Matchday Max's name. He has to take some credit for the filming. So the old cameraman, my dad, came up with the name of Matchday Max. Dave, you'll find this funny because of the location. Dad thought of the name of Matchday with Max outside Sergeant Pepper's, which is a pizza takeaway nearby where me and Dave are from.
On Smithfield Road, where Mum and Dad lived for all those years. Yeah, I know. Yeah, inspiration in strange places, Max.
Yes. Which takes us, Dave. What's some of your favourite memories, mate?
All of them, Max.
Oh,
honestly, this is a great panel. These are great people. Memories. The day we were on with Robbie Earnshaw, and he looked like he was in a padded cell because he had a very high chair.
Yes.
And it was all like, upholstered. That was good. Anytime Forest won and we were able to wax lyrical. But just generally, mate, the fact that in this day and age now, supporters can have such a brilliant way of putting their views across. And I think what we've always done on this show, which, a lot of YouTube channels and shows of this ilk don't do. I think we've always been respectful to our club. We've always been respectful to our players. Yeah, we've said this could be better, that could be better, they could try this. But I don't think we've ever, gone across a line where we've got into just, defamation of character or libel or slander, which I do see from a lot of YouTube channels. And there's some shows I've been on in the past, and I don't go on them now because they just descended into slanging matches. My club's better than yours, your club's not as good as mine, and all that nonsense. We've never done that on here. No. So I think that's really, really good. I think it's been, and then from a personal point of view, I've been doing this now, I don't know, 2 or 3 years. And it's, in some ways, from a family point of view, it's been a tough time. So being able to come on here and talk with lovely, like-minded people has helped me kind of get through that. I mean, I live on my own. I'm not with anybody. I've got any kids, but I feel like I'm part of different families, whether it's people, away supporters, this podcast, other stuff. So it's worth its weight in gold, and I shall miss it. But like Steve says, Max, I've watched you grow up as well, mate. And where you're heading to is where I always thought you would head to. And I'm just really, really satisfied and pleased that you're going to get, to do what you want to do, mate. And you deserve it, and you'll be magnificent at it, mate.
Thank you, mate. No, very kind words. Mark, I guess the baton goes on to you. I can remember our first episode, Mark, and you'll see it in this montage we're going to play in a second. I think the first episode that you came on was the Boxing Day Chris Wood win.
You have a better memory than I do, that's for sure. But that's what comes with age. I echo the sentiments of my fellow contributors. There have been so many good memories. It's so fun jumping on with different panels with different people and getting different perspectives. Unfortunately, we live in a world these days where things have become interminably black or white.
Yeah.
Right or wrong. You either agree with me or you're a pariah. It's not pleasant oftentimes. And today's point, I feel like we have some really good grey space here. We come on, we listen to each other's opinions, we challenge one another, and we learn from one another. And I've really appreciated the opportunity to do that. I've been podcasting for 12 years now. I've hosted a variety of different podcasts, not all of them sports related. And I've guested on God knows how many others. But the setting here that you've created, Max, the sense of camaraderie among these panelists, it's unique. So I'm extremely proud of you, mate, and what you're going on to do. I'm very much going to miss this podcast. I only have one question for you, really, mate, in summation, which is, who is your favourite panelist you've ever worked with on here?
Oh. No. It's not me.
I said worked with, not listened to for an hour, Dave.
One that doesn't interrupt the. No, I'm joking. There is, I don't know. Oh God. I mean, yeah.
Don't answer it. That's a lucky move. Don't answer
it. Celebrities was good. Well, no, I'm not going to name one of you, but some of the celebs that we got on the podcast was, Robbie was great, Guy Moosey, Paul McKenna. We had a good chat with him. Yeah, there was some good guests. My favourite panelist is the producer Dan, because he keeps it going. So shout out to producer Dan.
And I'd be remiss if I didn't say Trev sends his regards.
Thanks. I was about to say Special mention to Trev, who seems to be mentioned every time you're on this podcast, mate. What will Trev do, without this podcast? All right, last memories before we play some special stuff goes to Sarah. No pressure.
Well, I'm just gutted that I never got on with an ex-player. Did you know? You don't let me loose with one, did you?
You were too late, I'm very kidding.
Yeah, you hugged me in Seville when Mick was watching.
I can see you Stormgrats as well.
Sarah, what player from the current roster would you most want to be on with? You know what I mean by that?
Ola.
Yeah, that would be fantastic, wouldn't it? Well, my memory is obviously of Max when he was very young doing his Max Day with Max. I'm like thinking, he's a bit confident, isn't he?
too confident.
When I did hear your work, I did think, oh, he's going to make it, isn't he? Blooming. What a great idea, though, to start it so young and get yourself, because you've been brilliant, haven't you? And there's no doubt we knew what you'd do. But I was quite took back really when you asked me to come on it. I was thinking, what does he want a mid-50s grandma coming on his podcast for that's got no idea about football, really? So, I think that first pod, really, I was nervous and had some technical issues. And I think I've had technical issues ever since I've been in my work office and trying to do it. Yeah. So, no, good. I've just loved it. Thank you very much. I mean, I don't know. You've just got to put yourself out there sometimes. And if you get criticism, don't you? But I kind of like when I get to my age, and you don't really care so much as when you're younger. So, no, I just really enjoyed it. And I get to talk Dave gets to talk at me. And
you're my favourite. Sarah's my favourite riot woman.
Your favourite one?
Other programmes are available.
I'm not on the BBC, then. I'd have to say that. Great stuff. No, thanks all for the kind words. Right, I mean, let's play. Mark's got a little message from somebody. So let's play this that podcast producer Dan has labelled play this one. So I have no idea who it's from. So let's play this piece of audio that I think we can hear in the background.
Hey Max, Holly here, fellow Forest fan and host of the Forest Women Fancast. Listen, I want to say a massive, massive congratulations, mate, on your next chapter and for all the incredible work that you've done on Garibaldi Red and beyond over the years. Thank you for letting me come on the pod, and especially thank you so much for giving me a platform to talk about my passion, women's football. All the very best, my friend. No doubt you're going all the way to the top. You Reds.
Oh, that was lovely. Oh, thanks, Holly. Very good. She sent me a lovely message yesterday, actually. If you've not checked out the Forest Fair Women's Fancast, go and give it a listen. Holly Royal hosts it along with a few other people, and it's brilliant. It's a really good listen. And, Mark's always been good at shining the light on the women's side of Forest things when he's been on, and we've tried our best to do that with Holly. So thanks, Holly. And if you want to go and check that out, it's definitely a bit different to listen to rather than the men's team, which can be quite negative
because they're winning.
Yes, exactly. They're doing well.
They're a great addition to the club. They are. They're brilliant. The girls are.
And it's brilliant, and it's great that Forest are in a position to have a team that's just what are we now, Mark? Are we one below the Women's Super League?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, one below.
I think they're in the new Football Manager. I downloaded that last night. The new Football Manager, and Forest Women are in that. So it's a good chance to play the Women's League, and of course, great to be shining a light on women's football as well. Right, before we go then and close, finally, it's a bit difficult to put many years of Matchday with Max and Garibaldi Red into a bit of a montage, but we've managed to cram it into 4 minutes 53. Here is the all-awaited best bits of Garibaldi Red and Matchday with Max. Brace yourselves.
Hello Forest fans and welcome back to Matchday with Max. I'm back for another pre-season friendly tonight. Really warm evening in Nottingham. Feels like we're in Spain.
You're old enough to remember this,
Thanks Max, that's as good a start as any. And I am, yeah.
Yeah, and Martin O'Neill's up there.
He is.
He returns today.
He does.
How do you think he's going to get on as Forest manager?
So, I'm delighted to see him back.
What a day it was yesterday. The quick turnaround and the appointments of Sabri Lamucci after the shock departure of Martin O'Neill from the City Ground.
Here with Steve before the game. Steve, long time no see. Great to see you.
And to see you. It's going well so far this season,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Give us your impression of Steve Cooper's fist bump. Come on. Oh, yeah.
3 fist bumps for 3 goals.
As known as Forest Fancast, all the way from America today.
Yes, sir.
And we'll talk football first of all. It was a difficult first half for Forest. We struggled to get into it, and the ref didn't help, did he?
No, he didn't. The first half was very difficult for Forest. Peterborough had all 11 men in their own half.
Got on the pitch, we've played our match, we've got our 3 points, we're only a point off the playoffs, and the others who've had their games called off now have to catch us up. So it's been a brilliant week for Forest.
Forest have just beat Huddersfield 1-0. Let it sink in. Nottingham Forest are going to be a Premier League side next season.
And fast forward 7 years later, I am delighted to be your new host of the Garibaldi Red Podcast, brought to you by Nottinghamshire Live.
I am excellent. I feel even better now I'm on this podcast. I've heard big things.
Oh, great stuff today. Forest announced this afternoon that Steve Cooper has been relieved of his duties as head coach tonight at St James's Park, and Forest win 3-1, a Chris Wood hat-trick, things you never thought you might see, especially on Boxing Day. It really is a Christmas miracle.
Love the club. Obviously, Forest delight.
Hey, Dave, I think we better stop, mate. I've never seen Max look so depressed, look so uncheerful.
I'm always positive.
It's part of his education, Steve. We're like wise old men of the tribe.
Struggling to see Forest amassing double figures in number of points in the remaining 9 games. I struggle to see a path to 35, 36, which might be the very minimum we need to scrape by.
Indicate a reality. I mean, maybe I'm old school, I don't know, and I'll probably get hammered for this, but I've always believed in accepting referees' decisions. I played league football until I was 43, and if a referee gave it, he gave it.
That results, and that's what they did. They were pinnacle to the chances and could have had a few more as well. So, yeah, I mean, as an away day to end the season, can't really ask for much more than that party atmosphere, like you say.
Into every single Forest Liverpool game, home and away and at Wembley, since 1976. So I've been waiting for this for quite a while.
Yeah, and I actually turned to you, didn't I? It was half time, and I kind of looked up at you, Steve. It was good to see you yesterday, and I said Forest are going to win this 1-0. Yep, I pointed at you and said 1-0. Would be Dave Asprey's brother buying him a microphone. It's never been better to listen to Dave since. There it is.
Dave Asprey, brought to you by Rob Asprey.
This season, Dave, honestly, we're sat now, Sunday the 15th of December, we're talking about Forest being 4th.
No, we're in Europe. Take that to the bank. It's just in what shape we form now.
Yeah.
Probably 4 wins for the remaining 9, and we're in good shape for the Champions League. What I will say is, when you're talking about 37 point whatever it is million quid for Hutchinson, I'm old enough. I remember vividly when Forest dropped £1 million on Trevor Francis. And that was mind-blowing. Like, the game has changed forever. What a remarkable season. I mean, what a season for the ages. If you are a Forest fan and you're not entertained this year, I don't know what to tell you.
And it is about Reds on the road. It's this is an adventure that a whole generation of Forest fans have never experienced.
Forest part ways with Nuno Espirito Santo. He leaves the club after nearly 2 years in charge, guiding the club to Europe for the first time in 30 years. Forest sack Ange Postecoglou.
We talk about Forest all over the world. Here we are, 3 countries and 3 continents, representing the podcast.
I know I'm getting carried away, and I know it's the first game, and I know we're at the City Ground, I know it's against Brentford, but what we saw yesterday was just marvellous.
They play like they're brothers. You're wearing a red shirt, I'm wearing a red shirt. That makes you one and the same with me.
He's been trying to get rid of me for nearly 30 years.
Max, come on 3, mate. On 3. 1, 2, 3.
You Reds!
There we go.
Brilliant.
Oh, I know. I was just going to say, Mark, a little bit emotional after watching that. I've watched it enough this week, editing it, to try and not get too emotional. But there we go. That's 4 minutes 53 of a bit of match day with Max, plus the time doing Garibaldi Red, and it's certainly been an absolute pleasure doing it. And I think as well, and I kind of just before we end, as Dave was saying, fan channels are very important. I've done a uni degree, I've done journalism, I've gone into the media industry now, and the experience of doing this and Matchday with Max and talking to Forest fans who, you know, I hate to say it, but we can be a bit of a difficult fan base to talk to and interact with at times, has certainly stood me in good stead for the future. But going from talking about Forest 1 minute to covering, you know, I can remember covering Forest 1 minute and then 2 days later at uni going and interviewing some people about what they thought, with Liz Truss being the shortest prime minister ever and lasting, and a cabbage or a lettuce or something like that in the UK lasting longer than us. So that was a personal highlight whilst doing the podcast. But
Liz Truss, the Ange Postecoglou of politics.
Yes, absolutely, yeah. Comparing Liz Truss and Ange Postecoglou, a comparison you thought you'd never make.
It's who she is, mate.
It certainly is. So it's been a pleasure. A few thank yous. Thanks to Reach PLC, first of all, for the opportunity. Thanks to our amazing podcast producer, Dan Rowlandson, who likes to stay behind the scenes, but he does a brilliant job of editing this and putting it together and keeping me on track and voice noting me at 8 o'clock in the morning when I was at uni going, "Are you doing a podcast today, Max?" Because I was still not awake. So thanks to Dan. Thanks to the family and friends that have always supported me throughout doing stuff at Forest. Thanks to you guys that come on, and mainly thanks to all the Forest fans that have allowed me to have a platform to do this. Without fans, without an audience, none of this would have ever been possible. And my career going forward, it would have not been possible. So, yeah, that's that. Like I say, still be covering Forest a little bit. I'll be there home and away. I'm not going to stop supporting the club. All aboard the Sean Dyche train. Fingers crossed for a bit of positivity moving forward. And that does us nicely.
One last time, Max, on 3.
Yes, of course. Go for it, Mark. Count us down.
All right, guys. 1, 2, 3.
You Reds! Go on, Forest.